So it looks like Ukraine has paused, they've paused their counteroffensive. Remember, I did the video the other day about this hyped and long overdue counteroffensive. Yeah, well, it's gone so badly for the Ukrainians that, you know, the Russians made mincemeat out of these tank columns. You remember the Bradleys and the Leopards? So let me read to you now the latest. So this is from the Wall Street Journal, okay? And look at what they've said here. Ukraine said its forces were advancing on several axes in their counteroffensive, but were struggling to counter Russian air and artillery superiority, hobbling its assaults in the east and south. Now into its second week, Ukraine's ambitious attempt to take back Russian-occupied land is proving to be a hard slog against dense minefields and well-prepared defenses. After Ukraine's first probing attacks yielded mixed results, you mean after Ukraine's first attacks were destroyed, its forces have mostly paused their advances in recent days. Its forces have mostly paused their advances in recent days as commanders take stock of the past 2 weeks and analyze ways to punch through Russian lines without taking huge losses. Russia has taken advantage of its superior air power and Kiev's limited air defenses to strike Ukrainian armored columns and stop several attacks, destroying some of the sophisticated Western weaponry Ukraine is fielding. What do you mean? I thought that once the Ukrainians have all of these tanks, our wonderful tanks, that they're going to make mincemeat of the Russians. What do you mean? Just give them F-16s. Give them some nukes. I swear it will work this time. It will work, and it will take all of us with them, too. So the UK Defense Ministry, the MOD, look what they posted. This is from Twitter, okay? So they post these little graphics on Twitter. And this is dated 17th of June. So what do they say here about Ukraine? They say that since the start of the Ukrainian counteroffensive operations in southern Ukraine, Russia has reinforced its attack helicopter force in the region. They say there are 20 extra Russian helicopters, right? And then they say then that in the constant contest between aviation measures and countermeasures, it is likely that Russia has gained a temporary advantage in southern Ukraine, especially with attack helicopters employing longer-range missiles against ground targets. Going back to the Wall Street Journal, they say that the move further strengthens Russian air power potential in the region. Helicopters have successfully fired long-range missiles against Ukrainian ground targets. Yeah, okay, I read this to you, whatever. So I just wanted to highlight it, so I make sure to give it for you. But look at this. So if we look at the Ukrainian Deputy Defense Minister and what he's saying, he says Ukraine is seizing the initiative. Russia is on the defensive. Okay, I mean, defensive is very bad for you in this case because they've been dug in and building, I've gone through this with you guys, the Dragon's Teeth, the anti-tank ditches or trenches, and then the regular trenches manned for infantry positions. So yeah, I don't, he's trying to make it out to be some good thing. It's very bad. No, it's very bad that they're on the defensive because they're dug in. That's why. This is another Ukrainian Deputy Defense Minister. He said, name is Maliar, said the intensity of fighting around Bakhmut had lessened and acknowledged that Russia had the upper hand in terms of aviation and artillery forces. Going on here, he says, our forces, quote, are on the offensive in several areas, occupying dominant positions and forested areas with a view to gradually push the enemy out of the approaches into Bakhmut. Hold on a second. I thought the Russians never took Bakhmut. I thought Ukraine was destroying the Russians and that this was just propaganda. What do you mean? This is very, very peculiar what I'm seeing here. You know, I would dare perhaps say that the Ukrainian Deputy Defense Minister and the British MOD are doing Russian propaganda. What do you mean the Russians have temporary, have gained a temporary advantage in southern Ukraine? Are you working for the Kremlin? Jesus Christ. Here, let me show you another. Forget Wall Street Journal, MOD. Look at the, this is the Institute for the Study of War, okay? They say Ukrainian forces may be temporarily pausing counteroffensive operations to reevaluate their tactics for future operations, meaning they got destroyed by Russia. Head of the Estonian Defense Forces Intelligence Center, Christ, what a mouthful, Colonel Grossberg, stated on June 16th that he assesses, quote, we won't see an offensive over the next 7 days, unquote. Then they cite the Wall Street Journal, which I just read to you. And then here they go on to say that these reports are consistent with the Institute for the Study of War's recent observations of the scale and approach of localized Ukrainian counterattacks in southern and eastern Ukraine. And here it gets better. Look what they say here. They say that ISW has previously noted that Ukraine has not yet committed the majority of its available forces to counteroffensive operations and has not yet launched its main effort. It's a localized counteroffensive. Ukraine have not really, it's not a real counteroffensive, okay? Well, that's so pathetic. That is pathetic. So this is their way of admitting that the Western weapons didn't work, providing Ukraine with Leopards, with Bradleys, with Challenger 2s, with M1A2 Abrams, which they're nowhere to be seen, the American tanks. They don't work. Russia is making mincemeat of the Ukrainian forces because they're too well dug in. They have helicopter, they have air superiority, they reign supreme over the skies of Ukraine. I mean, it's not even close. And then on top of that, they're saying that in this case, the Institute for the Study of War apparently don't know a lot about war. They're saying, well, it's not a real counteroffensive because Ukraine have not committed the bulk of their forces. Who the hell man, in which bloody manual does it say you have to commit the bulk of your forces for a counteroffensive? Are you out of your goddamn mind? Who would do that? In what situation would you send all of your... They're saying the bulk, so the majority of your forces for a counteroffensive. I mean, perhaps during a nuclear apocalypse, or when you're besieged and you're completely surrounded by catapults and battering rams and so on. Maybe, yeah, but that's just rubbish. That is rubbish, absolute rubbish. You don't necessarily, even Zelensky, listen, even Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, I showed you the clip. He's coming out and saying, yes, the counteroffensive has begun. So are you telling me you know more than the Ukrainian president now about his own army, about his own politics, about his own war against the Russian orcs or invaders, as they call them? Come on, this is rubbish, right? So let me just kind of repackage this for you, right? The situation with Ukraine's counteroffensive is so bad to the point that they're even telling the truth about what's happening, of course, to a limited extent, right? To a lesser extent. And it really has to be bad for them to be admitting this. Now, one thing that was mentioned in the Wall Street Journal article, and I think they were quoting one of the Ukrainian deputy defense ministers, is that the weather, right? They mentioned the mud and the mines, right? I told you guys about this thing that Ukraine has a mud season right now. It's so bad that if your vehicle gets stuck, let's say you have a brand new vehicle, it's dropped out of the sky with a parachute, right? If you get stuck in the mud, good luck. I mean, trying to fix that, and especially if Christ, how long are you going to stay there? It's just not worth the risk. You might get discovered and blown to bits. It's not worth the risk of trying to get a goddamn tank out of the mud. And the risk is that if you send other vehicles to tow the tank, just like the Israelis did yesterday in Janina after being slaughtered, is that, the other vehicles will get stuck in the mud. I don't need to lecture Ukrainians or Russians about their own weather. They know this better than me. You have a mud season. It's very, very, very bad for any sort of counteroffensive or offensive. The Russians, for months, they've been dug in. Let me show you this. This is a Ukrainian battalion commander, right? Look at what he's saying here.
Київ живе своїм життям. Це не столиця воюючої країни. Кафе, ресторани, молоді люди, хтось посміхається, все у них класно. А я привіз труп. А скільки трупів приїжджає? Я приїхав на цвинтар. А там ціла поляна цих людей. І у кожного якийсь термін, скільки 7 років, комусь 50, комусь 20, комусь 30, комусь 40. Київ.
So he's criticizing, I guess you can include Zelensky, absolutely, right? People in Kiev, in the capital, who are just lounging about. And, it can happen that, you have a country that's at war and it's only localized in one area. I mean, if you want to talk, let's take Syria as a comparison. Damascus was definitely definitely went through the war. There's no question about it. But you could say for a certain period, Damascus didn't get destroyed like Aleppo, right? Damascus got destroyed, but not like Aleppo, not like the northern parts or shall we say northeastern parts, right? But here in this case, his point is that it's not that Kiev is not, he wants Kiev to start burning like some kind of inferno. He's just saying that the people there, the people there, the leadership, they're lounging about, and he's having to bury meadows of Ukrainians. I mean, I find this very sad. I have no clue who this guy is and what battalion he commands. But the principle here, I mean, again, this is sad because all of this could have been avoided. And he's saying you got 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, all being buried, fields of people being buried. And I'm not talking just about the counteroffensive. I'm saying the whole war is stupid and sad because it could have been avoided, right? Now here, I want to show you this is another clip. Now this guy is a captured Ukrainian soldier, so take everything he says with a pinch of salt, because anybody who's captured is not going to start revealing 100% of the truth to a camera. As a matter of fact, technically speaking, we don't even know if he's consented really, to the interview. Sometimes I'm not saying it's a quote unquote forced confession or something, but the guy's a prisoner of war. He's a POW. That's his official status. He's only going to say so much truth to the camera. But in any case, I'm just giving you that disclaimer, and you make of this clip what you will.
В боевых действиях наш батальон участвовал только в Запорожской области, третий именно. Первый, второй, третий. Остальные не знаю где. И мы постоянно дислоцировались в районе Запорожской области.
Sorry, I don't interrupt the guy, but he looks like hell. And I feel sorry for the guy. I really feel sorry for the poor bastard. What the hell is so necessary that they got to have these wars? Jesus Christ! I mean, you just look at his face, man. I don't even want to know what this guy's been through. It's so pointless, all this.
От Камышевахи до Гуляйпольского. Мы вообще ОМБР, отдельная механизированная бригада. То есть мы пехотный батальон. Наша задача – это закрепиться и стоять. Наша задача не штурмовая. Для этого есть штурмовые бригады. Но нас здесь начали использовать как штурмовую бригаду. Одновременно с удержанием рубежа. Что недопустимо. Короче, подразделения между собой не договариваются о действиях на одном участке фронта. И на одной посадке может работать 3 подразделения. То есть там образно 47-я, 33-я и 65-я. Это все люди могут работать в одной посадке. Никто никому ничего не докладывает. Чей дрон летит, никто никому не докладывает. Бардак? Бардак. Когда бардак, он и есть бардак. Одни зашли, получили люлей.
You get the idea. You get the idea. Go watch the full video if you want. There's a tweet, okay? You get the idea. It's a complete mess and it's disorganized. But thank God, while these guys are, you have Russians and Ukrainians killing themselves, Mr. Stoltenberg over here, he's having nice cocktails with Mr. Scholz, the Führer, right? The Germany's new Führer. So, then also, of course, he couldn't leave before taking a picture of himself inside, a German plane with a nice iron cross next to it. Lovely, nice little Luftwaffe, right? Oh, Christ. I mean, I know the Germans, they kept the Iron Cross. I mean, they even had it in World War I. It's not necessarily Nazi and so on. But this guy, I mean, the problem here is that you got people like him, like Mr. NATO over here. They're running a war against Russia, and they're doing it knowing full well that you got Nazis that have been integrated into the armed forces in Ukraine. So I think it's a little distasteful, to put it mildly, right? It's a little distasteful. I'm being very generous to him right now. In any case, why am I showing you Mr. Stoltenberg all of a sudden, right? Is because he gave a speech yesterday. And what did he say during the speech? He said, this is on NATO's own website, go nato.int. He said yesterday that, quote, our weapons and ammunition stocks are depleted and need to be replenished, not just in Germany, but in many countries across NATO. I mean, I don't know what else I can say because the guy said it for us all. So, what I'm seeing here is a complete collapse of this so-called counteroffensive. Now, there's a saying that you can you might win you might win the battle, but the war has only just begun, right? So this so-called counteroffensive period that is happening now could very well turn out that this war is in Ukraine, or shall we say Washington's favor, right? But as it is right now, I can't tell the future and I don't have a crystal ball for you, but right now in June in 2023, it's not looking good, right? It's not looking good. And they are coming out in the media and the officials like Stoltenberg and just saying, and the soldiers, right? I showed you the soldiers too. They're just saying that everything is a complete mess. They don't have the organization, and Russia is in a superior position. And I want to show you what Sergei Lavrov, the top Russian diplomat, so the foreign minister, look what he said about his speech, about Stoltenberg's speech. He said that if NATO once again uses Stoltenberg to declare that it is against freezing, as they say, the conflict in Ukraine, then that means they want to fight, so let them fight. And then he says that we have long understood NATO's goals regarding the situation in Ukraine. These objectives were worked out a long time ago after the state coup in Ukraine. NATO is trying to implement them now. And Lavrov goes on to say that Western politicians and analysts were, quote, gradually sobering up and realizing the true reasons and nature behind what is going on in the world. And he also says that, quote, if they maintain at the same time that they are not waging a war against Russia, when in fact that is exactly what they're doing, admitting that without pumping the Ukrainian regime with weapons, without providing Kiev with intelligence data from satellites, the Ukrainian situation would have been over a long time ago. This is actually recognition of their direct involvement in the hybrid and even hot war declared against Russia. So the source here is Al Arabiya, right, which is a Saudi outlet. But in any case, I mean, it's funny that he mentions this, right? Because this is amid the Russian claim that there's going to be a strike on Crimea, which I'll get to in a second, in a separate video. But it's like he's really going back as far as 2014 when he talks about the coup, and then he's wrapping it up and saying that this is a hot war. That basically that NATO and the United States and United Kingdom are directly fighting Russia, but using Ukraine as a vehicle, right? They're the ones that are supplying Ukraine with the ability to wage this war. But I find it funny that he mentions this because his only takeaway was that, it's going badly. It's going badly because Mr. Stoltenberg says they don't have any weapons, but they still want to go. And it's true. That is what they're saying, Stoltenberg, the head of NATO, he's not saying, oh, we don't have any weapons left, so let's just stop this. No, he's saying we need to go further. He's not done. And why is that the case? Because we go back to what the other Ukrainian battalion commander was saying. You have people like him who lounge about around with their cocktails in their parties, and they're not paying the price of war. They're not the ones who have to go fight or send their children to fight or their families to fight. They're nice and comfortable in their European or American capitals, very, very, very far away from the front lines, right? Very far away from all of this. And so for them, they don't care, oh, okay, we're out of munitions. We'll just make more. We'll just keep getting more. We'll keep this going. Not, oh, okay, maybe this is time to think about what we're doing. This counteroffensive is collapsing. Look at the lives that it's costing. Again, you have to keep in mind that people dying. It's just in the first couple of days, they lost 8,000 Ukrainian men. What's the point of that? I don't think all of them want to fight. Remember, there's a draft, right? There's a draft in Russia. By the way, there's a partial draft. And also in Ukraine, if you're a male between 18 and 60 or something, you're not allowed to leave the country. So you have to consider that a lot of these people, they really don't want to fight. And they're being sent to die anyway, on both sides in a way. And Mr. Stoltenberg over here is taking photos in a German aircraft. I really don't know what to say. These people are so out of touch with reality. It's really stunning. But there it is. That's the update about the situation in Ukraine. The military situation, because again, I talked to you guys a lot about BRICS, about the ripple effect, as I call it, the multipolar world and what's happening outside of Ukraine. But we always have to keep tabs on what's happening inside of Ukraine on the battlefield, because they've sold this situation so much, right? They've been saying for months, give them this, give them that, tanks, First it was helmets, then it was tanks, now they want planes. They're probably going to get the planes because many European countries have already said, okay, it doesn't matter how many Ukrainians get killed, but let's just keep doing it. It doesn't matter that the counteroffensive is a complete sham, that it is failing, that it is complete chaos. The Russians are making mincemeat out of them. No, let's keep going, Mr. Stoltenberg says. These people are out of touch with reality, and they're playing with people's lives. It's very deadly. It's very dangerous.